What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JAR. JAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe.
And Amy.
Review. It's our weekly show where we go over the Magic stories as they're posted on Wizards' website, or, as we've been doing recently, reviewing some Vorthos-adjacent content while we wait for the Rivals of Ixalan stories to start. This week, we have our finale, part 3, of our review of the Mark Rosewater article, Unstable Scraps. Specifically, Unstable Scraps Part 3, because 3 parts, etc. You guys get the idea. My quick review at the beginning is the same as it's been for the last 2 weeks. If you care about Unstable, which as we talked about last week, you should care about Unstable. But if you care about Unstable and you care about any at all information about where a lot of the more iconic cards came from the set, read these articles. It's not a lot of time to read them all. Even if you space them out, do 1 at one point, 2 at another, and 3 later on, that's fine. Or if you do them all in one sitting, that's fine too. It's a lot of interesting information, and it's nice. It's nice to be able to find that stuff out. I don't know about you, if your thoughts have changed from last week. No? Okay, so the same thing. If you like Unstable, read the articles. If you're interested in information on Unstable, read the articles. Because they're good, and obviously Mark has a lot of experience from doing Unglued and Unhinged, and now Unstable as well, waiting many, many years for this moment. So, as we've done in the last 2 weeks, we're going to talk about not all of the cards that he mentioned in Part 3, but the ones that we feel like we would have some relevant information to bring all of you. So, and some input. So, we start with Krark's Other Thumb, which I was aware of Krark's Thumb when I saw Krark's Other Thumb. Some people might not have been, yourself presumably included.
Yep.
But Mark gave the story of Krark's Thumb. Krark's Thumb would allow you, instead of having to flip a coin, if you had to flip a coin, you could flip 2 coins and ignore one of the results. That's better. You have a higher, well, it's still a 50-50 chance because probability, but you at least get to do it twice, and you take you choose what result you take. Again, it's still a 50-50 shot with flipping coins, but now you have dice to roll. And Krark's Other Thumb references rolling dice. Now, what Mark was saying was when they originally made Krark's Thumb, they didn't want there to be able to be multiples of them, because then you could flip 1,000,000 coins and just choose the best one for you, which means after a while you're going to get the result that you want, and congrats. Right. If it's in a constructed deck, you just have 4 of them out on the field at the same time, or up to 4, and then it's just, if it's flip a coin, it's just you always get what you want out of the coin flip, so why bother having the coin flipping mechanic? And usually there's a reason for it, because just getting it outright is a little too broken. So they didn't want you to just have a card like that, and so instead of, what Mark said was, instead of it being Goblin's Thumb, it was Krark's Thumb, so that it would have a name and it could be legendary. Well, it's a thumb. Most of us have 2 of them. So there is the idea, or there was the idea that he mentioned, that you could have a second one on the field, but only 2. But instead, now they've made Krark's Other Thumb as a card in Unstable. It makes sense, but this one, instead of helping you flip coins, it helps you roll dice, and it's the same idea. If you would roll a die, you roll 2, and you choose one of the results.
Right.
So, flavorfully, it makes perfect sense. One is for coins and one is for dice. But it's the same effect, and they are both legendary artifacts, and it also makes sense because it's his thumb and his other thumb, so they're not interchangeable, but you can have both now, presumably on the field at the same time. Then we move on to Masterful Ninja. Now, I think I mentioned last week that a lot of the cards that we were going to be talking about are cards that I enjoy, that we enjoy, because otherwise why would it be something that we would want to talk about on the show for us to just say, there's this card, it's not really that interesting, next. For Masterful Ninja, I both enjoy and don't enjoy this card. I enjoy it because I like the mechanic, the idea of it being in 2 zones at once, and Mark mentioned that it was very much like the Yet Another Ether Vortex, and it was similar to Over My Dead Bodies, but they modified it a little bit. But that they wanted something similar to Yet Another Ether Vortex, or, sorry, technically that is Aether Vortex, because they they have the A and the E connected there, whereas they've removed it in more recent Kaladeshi-like sets. But it's yet another Aether Vortex from Unhinged that allowed you to have cards on the top of your library, but also on the field at the same time. And so they wanted to do something similar, but they weren't sure what 2 zones to use. So with Masterful Ninja, they used hand and battlefield at the same time. The thing that frustrates me, and yet at the same time I get it and it's funny, but it's also frustrating, is the art on Masterful Ninja. Because I'll admit that they got me for about 45 seconds, maybe a minute. Because when the card was revealed, it was revealed in an article, and they talked about looking at the art for a very, 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 very long time before actually seeing the ninja in the room for the art for Masterful Ninja. Mark Rosewater, when he talked about Masterful Ninja in this article, I expected him to talk about the art in some way. He didn't mention it at all. And I think that Masterful Ninja is I think that joke among all of them is the longest running, because no one is talking about the fact that it is just not in the card. It's not there. You can take your time, you can look for it and look for a little hide and hair and whatever you want to call it. It's not there, but I grew up in the era where there were those pictures that would surface online of the when you see it picture. And you take your time and you look at the picture and eventually something pops out. The one I can think of is there's a soldier in camo hiding in a forest, and you don't see him when you look at the picture, but at one point you notice, you can see his eye or whatever, and then once you notice that, you can
you can actually see his body.
You can see where he is and the gun that he's holding. That if you're looking at this picture, you could look at that picture for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and just realize that there's a dude with a nice big gun. Obviously, it's a picture, so he's pointed at you, but not really at you. But it's that moment of oh my God, I've been dead for so long. If I'm actually in the woods with this guy trying to find him, I've been dead for quite some time.
Right.
So
if you're the soldier, he wants to shoot.
You're just dead, and he does a very good job of making you dead.
Yeah.
So it's those kinds of things, right? It made me want to look at the card and find the art and be part of the joke, until I realized that the joke was on me, which, sure, fool me once, right? But it was kind of that moment. That's why I enjoy it, but I'm also frustrated by it. So, that's Masterful Ninja.
You have a lot of things like that, though.
Yeah.
It's just a personal thing of
yes.
yours.
Oh yeah, that's totally me. Oh, maybe it's you too. Let me know, as always. Hey, I'd love to hear that it's not just me, but it's probably just me. Then we have modular. Sorry, were you saying something? No? Okay. So next we have Modular Monstrosity. Was one of the other cards was one of the next cards that Mark talked about. Modular Monstrosity is the kind of card that allows you or requires you to have prior knowledge of Magic the Gathering. You can do it with limited knowledge, but you're better off if you have advanced knowledge, because it allows you to choose a keyword that has been printed on a card before. So the example he used before is you can't give it Poisonous 10, because nothing has ever had Poisonous 10 before, and that would be super broken. But you can give it things like Annihilator, which the Eldrazi had, the original Eldrazi, which when they would come into play, you would exile that many permanents or something. I could totally be getting that keyword wrong, but again, I'm not the guy who's going to be playing Modular Monstrosity, or at least if I am, I'm going to be I give it Flying, I give it First Strike, I give it Trample, I give it Haste, and then I'm going to be sitting there going, Last Strike, Double Strike, it's just, that's just what's going to be happening, right? I'm going to be, you should make a list, is what Mark mentioned, but the more you know about Magic, the more you can start saying Bushido, right? Or Shroud, or shadow, and things like that. Like, you can give it all these different keywords, and since it triggers on your opponent playing a spell, and then you have only 2 seconds to name a unique keyword that you haven't used that day, or it loses all of its keyword abilities.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen for me.
Right. And I'm sure it won't happen for me either. I'm sure that if I get it and I make the mistake of choosing to play it because it's me, I'm going to mess it up forever. Because once I get to the second or third game with that card, it's just going to be a vanilla creature. It's just never going to have a keyword ability at all. They're going to play a spell and I'm going to go, and then the 2 seconds will be up and that'll be it. But it goes along with what we were talking about last week, which if you missed last week's video, it might be in the sidebar there, but it'll also be linked at the end of the video for all of you. But we talked about it last week. They did a really good job in this set of making games within the game. Or challenges within the game. And this is an example of that. You have a challenge of, can you name all of these different keywords? How big can you build up this modular monstrosity before it all falls apart, right? And it's a game about being quick in responding to, your opponent cast a spell, you better focus and say that keyword name. Because it's saying the keyword name, but it's also, you also might just be shocked by the card that your opponent played. Maybe they drop Urza, Academy Headmaster, and you're like, oh my god, it's Urza, Academy Headmaster. And they're like, yep, also your modular monstrosity. And it's like, oh man, I forgot, because you're actually reacting to the card that they're playing. So
I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for that kind of thing in this particular
game. Yeah. Well, and especially like if somebody's making a host or an augment creature and they make a steam-powered cat. You probably are going to take a second and go, that's hilarious.
Or go, what?
Right. But now, actually, to be fair,
can you do that?
I may be wrong. I may be wrong because augment may be an ability and you may not actually be casting a spell. But regardless, I'm not a judge. Although, ironically, and I didn't do this on purpose, I swear, the next card is, so I can say I'm not a rules lawyer. And the next card is Rules Lawyer. Although I will say that Rules Lawyer is probably my favorite card from this set, personally.
Not mine.
And because there is a Rules Lawyer, first of all, that card is, because I love Platinum Angel. I'm that guy. Sorry, everyone. I'm that guy. I love Platinum Angel. And this is Platinum Angel on steroids. Because it's just, the creatures don't die and things like that. Like, it's just, it goes so far beyond. And I'm sure, I am not a judge, but I'm sure that this makes judges just want to cry that this card exists. And the fact that that Mark said that they were going to make a judge promo out of Rules Lawyer for judges. I want that judge promo so badly. I would put that thing on my desk at work. I would hang it up on a bulletin board somewhere. I want that card. If any of you know where I can get that card, maybe let me know. I will pay you the equivalent price. Or I at least will consider offers of the equivalent price. I'm not just going to empty my bank account for a judge promo Rules Lawyer. But anyway, briefly, I wanted to touch on Spike, Tournament Grinder. We talked about this card weeks ago, and I think we've talked about it incrementally on the way, where when they announced the card, they said that, oh, we finished the cycle, Johnny and Timmy and now Spike. You're wrong, you didn't finish the cycle, and I told them that in a tweet at some point, because you still need Vorthos. But we'll get to that at the end. But as we talked about last week, it's looking like, with this set being out and the degree to which people are enjoying it, stores are selling out of it, they're needing to buy more. It's going for more than MSRP on, or at least more than what most stores typically would sell this kind of a product for online, on eBay and things like that. That's a very good sign. And if that's true, and if that's indicative of how much this set is being opened, it's very likely that we will get a fourth unset a lot sooner than it took for them to go from unhinged to unstable. So, yes, exactly. That's how I'm enjoying seeing unstable surge like this it's good. It's a good thing for those of us who enjoy this kind of a set, and for those of us who know that they need to print the Vorthos card.
Yes.
I'm watching you. You need to print Vorthos. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say with Spike. It's a great card. It's fun. It's interesting. Fine, but still. Next, we can talk about the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons. Sitting right over there, and it's packed up, so I'm not going to get it, is our set of HasCon promos. We didn't go to HasCon because who has that kind of money? And we talked about that on the...
Well, some people do.
Yes, and good for them. Good for them. That is not jealousy at all. If you went to HasCon, or you know someone who went to HasCon, I hope you or they had a really good time. Genuinely, I do hope that. I wish we could have gone. But I don't have that kind of money, so unfortunately we didn't go. Maybe next year, who knows. But there were a lot of promos left over, and they were super cheap, so we bought them. And one of the promos inside of that kit, I think you know where I'm going with this, is the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, and it is the only one of those three that is now being reprinted / printed in non-foil, non-promo in this set in Unstable. Will the other two be printed? Maybe, although I doubt it.
Doubt it.
But yes, exactly. I also doubt it. But it is technically possible.
I feel like it was just transferable enough.
Yes. And well, and they talked about Mark talked about in his article that his co-workers, so to speak, within Wizards of the Coast, who are from the Dungeons and Dragons team, asked for the Sword of D&D to be included in Unstable so that you would have a card, since you already had Go to Jail, which we talked about last week, now you have another card by another Hasbro-esque, but really Wizards of the Coast, game in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. I also love the fact that I think I saw a picture online of the back of the dragon, the 4/4 gold dragon that that you make with the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons. When you flip it over, on the back of all of the tokens is very interesting little things, because usually it's an ad card and nobody cares about it. This time you're going to want to read the back of your tokens. And I think on the back of the dragon token, it said, Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, or Dungeons and Dragons based on the Magic card. Which is hilarious, because there's no way that's true, because D&D's been around since the 80s, but it's that, if not before. I'm not high on my D&D lore, despite the fact that I enjoy the game. But regardless, Gary Gygax did not make Dungeons and Dragons based on Magic the Gathering. That's not how that works. But obviously in no way do I think that that's what they're really saying. It's a joke. It's in Unstable, and that's hilarious to me. I really enjoyed that. So.
Well, maybe some unstable people actually think that.
Maybe. Who knows? And then the fact that Mark told the story of the fact that it was going to be wizard and cleric that it was going to have protection from, because you need protection from two things. And the D&D people, properly, as D&D players ourselves, we could tell you that kind of a sword, or really a sword in general, is much better utilized by a rogue or a cleric as opposed to a wizard or a cleric. That's just general D&D knowledge, although I can understand why people who work for Wizards of the Coast would want to give it protection from wizards. I get it, but the D&D staff were correct in saying, no, it needs to be not wizards, right? Rogues and clerics, for example. So, and fighter is not really a creature type in Magic, although barbarian, I guess, arguably is, but I feel like there are more rogues than barbarians. So, after the Sword of D&D, there's two more. One of which is the Planeswalker, Urza Academy Headmaster, which, I am me. If you've been watching this show for long enough, you know. What is my favorite part of this card? The fact that it is called Headmaster. I love it. I love puns. Because it is the head of Urza. That's all it is. Because it's the disembodied head of Urza come back from Legacy Weapon to Urza's Hot Tub, and now to Urza Academy Headmaster. It is also a 5-color Planeswalker, which people have been asking for a long time. And so Mark Rosewater said that he was aware of that, and so now he's delivering both an Urza Planeswalker that people have been asking for, and a 5-color Planeswalker.
And just shove it all in one.
Yes, and to follow up from Urza's hot tub, where Urza's head was floating on that little floaty lifesaver dealie with the guy from AWOL, where it told you to go to wizards.com/hot tub, which, by the way, at least the last time I checked, which was a while ago, because I was looking at my Urza's hot tub and I was like, I want to check that website.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, or at least it didn't. It did exist. It has become discontinued since. But on Urza Academy Headmaster, it tells you to go to askurza.com and click on +1, -1, or -6 for his different abilities. And I know that there are some people out there who have now made tokens that will kind of show you like roll a die or something, and depending on your result, all of the choices are on a little card. So if you don't have access to the internet, you can do that. That's not officially licensed Wizards product, at least as far as I understand it.
Doesn't sound it.
But it's so cool. I don't know why they wouldn't do
cool.
that. I think that's really awesome. But I don't think they want... I think they want you to be surprised as opposed to knowing everything that it could be. It's just that there are people who...
Random generation
Right.
or whatnot.
But there are those people who, as soon as the website went live, just started clicking, and were able to generate a list of everything that it could possibly be, and then they were able to make their tokens for it, which I appreciate. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go out there and spend that kind of time.
That sounds like way more work than I'm willing to put in.
Oh, yeah.
For basically anything.
Oh, yeah. So there's that. And then finally, the last card that we want to talk about in Unstable Scraps in general, but also for this video, is another card that I really enjoy. I think it's really cool, and I think it's the card that I would probably talk about the most when I talk about this set because of how creative the abilities are on the card, and that is X. Mark Rosewater, in this article, revealed the flavor text for X because it was not something that would have fit on the card because there was too much description of what X can do, and I love it. He is supposed to be a super spy. He goes into your opponent's hand. He tells you everything that's in their hand, which is why they reveal it to you. It's so flavorful.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And then you get to play those cards because he steals them for you by paying for the ability. Awesome.
Super fun.
Awesome. I love it. The flavor text for the card was going to be, spoilers I guess if you didn't actually read the article, X spots the mark. I love it. I absolutely love it. But, and just because I am me, and we just talked about puns and how I enjoy them, X spots the mark is good. I like it a lot. I think it would have been a little bit better, if you're familiar with what the card does, to call it, or to have the flavor text say, X gon' be given to you. A lot of people made the joke of X gon' give it to you. He's not. I mean, I guess technically he gives you their cards, sure, but you're saying to your opponent, you play X or you reveal X, and you say X gon' be given to you, and then you hand them X as they put it into their hand. That's me. You think that pun is stupid? It's okay if you do. I don't care. So anyway,
I think all puns are stupid, pretty much.
fair enough. This was a little bit of a quicker one than last week, because good God, last week's video was very long. We went on a lot of tangents, and that's why last week I think we said all the things that we wanted to say.
Yeah.
And so we're just repeating a lot of the stuff this week, but there were individual cards new that we wanted to talk about, and so there you go. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you are enjoying your holiday season.
Yes.
It is getting towards the end of the year. Whatever holiday you celebrate, happy holidays to you. Otherwise, if it's really none of them, then we hope that you are going to enjoy your new year and the end of this year. And please tune back in next week. Like I said, we're going to have our top X list, whether it's 5, 10, whatever. We'll be giving you our opinions.
It's going to be given to you.
Yes, there you go. See, she didn't hate it. Anyway,
That's not what that means.
we're going to give you our list for the top X stories from 2017. You can give us your opinions as well. When it comes up, feel free to click our logo, subscribe, and you'll find out when that video comes out, as well as all of our others. This week with Unstable Scraps Part 3, as well as the last 2 weeks, and the week before it when we did the story, and every week when we are here, we are coming to you to show off our...
Hashtag Vorthos Pride.
I told you we'd get back to it. Anyway, this has been Geek for All. This has been Jar on Geek for All. I can do things. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I've been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, guys, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks so much, everybody.